Hello everybody, welcome to gemstones.com. It's Monday, it's noon, and we've got some cool things for you.
Yep, we're coming in. We got some intarsia, and we've got all the things that are components in making intarsia, because, well, all except for one, which sugilite is a little bit hard to find right now, really hard to source. The metaphysicals and all that have been snatching that up every chance they get, but we do have a piece with sugilite in it, so if you're looking for some sugilite, you can at least get it there, and we'll get going. So what is intarsia?
Intarsia is, they're like very unique, one-of-a-kind pieces of gemstone artwork. It's kind of like a mosaic. They're like symmetrical and patterns with different gemstones set in them in like a beautiful sort of one-of-a-kind inlay. And
that's a very good way to explain it. Depending on who makes it, you're going to get differences in the patterns. What we're seeing on the air right now with the explainer all comes from the same artist, and that's who we have the intarsia from. If you get some of the Russian-made intarsia, you get more odd shapes that aren't symmetrical, that aren't Art Deco. And as you see these that are coming through on screen, it's not just gems and minerals. Gems and minerals are probably the last bit of intarsia in that formation. You see it a lot in woodworking. You see it a lot in tiles, mosaic tiles. But we're lucky enough that someone had the vision to say, I'm going to cut up these gemstones and, in all honesty, sacrifice really, really good gem material and decided to make intarsia out of it. Now, these are decorative pieces. Got to find that switch.
There it goes.
So I'm just going to set this right on my hand. I know we have that overhead shot. Shane, tell me where to hit my hand. So what this is going to be, as you look at this one, you have malachite, sugilite, fire agate, pristine, and as I say, and you even have a thin band of opal around it.
Beautiful.
So when I say that they took gem quality pieces, you can see the eye rotating in this fire agate, which is what everybody wants. You want eyes, you want iridescence.
Yeah.
Because that's going to tell you the quality. The more eyes you get, the higher quality the piece is. But you can also just look at the banding on this malachite to let you know that it's a fine quality specimen.
We've got the artist's signature on the back there. That's a beautiful touch.
Yeah, the artist did all the work for you. So if you want to know how to orient this on how to wear it, all you have to do is flip it over. If the signature is the right side up, that's how he intended this to be worn.
We've got our YouTube chat says, cool, please turn down your shirt. You talking to me like that?
Well, there is one thing that I'm going to say. Don't worry about my drip. Not important. It's completely fine. I go all out. I'm 42. I'm balding. I've got very little going on for me. So let me have my shirt. That's all I ask. But I'm trying to compete with the beauty that is intarsia, obviously. So as you look at these, and one thing that was interesting, we'll just let that spin around. Shane can get that overhead shot. The artist didn't even cut any of this material until he had a design in mind.
Oh, I love the forethought in that.
Yeah, so he would look at things and try and come up with a concept himself, and then he would start cutting the material. So it really is a sacrifice of material, and this is not being made anymore by this artist.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 3-time AGTA Spectrum Award winner. You can Google the artist once you get a piece, or if you can see it on the back, you can Google. Search engine that artist, I apologize. And you can look it up, and he has a rhodochrosite clock that's on a really high-end auction website. And I believe the price that was on it was $10,000. So this material, just to even find this material, it's like I say with all this old stock stuff, they won't sacrifice it to make this stuff anymore because they can make far more money by cabbing it, faceting it if it's not an opaque stone, and getting the material out there.
We've got some people in chat. Arnaldo says hi. Oscar says hi. Right back at you guys. Barbara says hi from YouTube. Barbara says shirts and shoes. You guys can't see the shoes, but if you could, it would be deafening.
It really is. Like, I'm a zero with shoes at this point. Sorry, Shane, I was trying to lift them up if you can get them.
Oh, he's got the piece.
Yeah, see, there we go. I'm a nightmare. It's fine. That's where all my money goes, is shoes.
I can't hear anything back here. It's so loud.
So with all of this intarsia, the one thing to say is that this intarsia was made probably 35 to 40 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this has all been sitting in a vault. We've got a little roll that's going to come up of where we went to get this. And one thing to take away from this is look at how big Tom was.
It's like a heavy door.
Yeah, you have to put some muscle behind it. I think that door is probably about 7 inches thick. So it's in, an old bank vault, and every single one of those trays is nothing but gemstones. It is a gemologist paradise in there. So we're lucky enough to come through and just find all this stuff that's been sitting on shelves.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough that we get to go in and have access to all this fine material.
So you said a moment ago that that these intarsia pieces are made of all different kinds of materials, and that we had examples of those materials.
Yes. So the next one that we're coming up with, because it is something that's been used so heavily in this, is a nice Australian opal cabochon. This is a 10x8 cab. And Shane, I don't know if you want to do overhead, if you want me to show it on tweezers.
It's beautiful.
Let me go ahead and just pop that off.
Nice. Good touch.
Yeah, so it's got really nice play of color on it. One of my favorite things about opal in all cases, especially Australian opal, is one of the easiest ways to determine whether you have natural or synthetic is phosphorescence. Because phosphorescence is kind of that one thing that one of the opals that we have here, it has a really nice, almost pinfire style flash, play of color. And it looks so synthetic to me, but that's just because I look at so many opals on a regular basis.
You've got the eye.
So hit it with a little phosphorescence, and that's all you need to see in that. And this does have really good play of color. It's semi-translucent, but this has a little bit of depth behind it. We have some quantity in it, so it might change a little bit, like what you're going to see. And you just saw a Tom Joyce special. It wouldn't be a show if I didn't drop a gemstone.
Man, Dan, we got to run.
And I used to tell someone, they had me come and look at something because we sold a master set. And a master set is kind of like a grading set. Well, they opened it and it dumped out inside of someone's purse. And they called me and they were like, can you help me put this back together? And I kind of laughed because, they get made at the time. Well, they dropped one on the floor, and they're like, well, you can find it, you're a gemologist. And I said, well, you're a gemologist, too. We get down and pick them up. Like, that's
make you magic.
Yeah, that's gemology. So with Australian opals, they're a lot different than Ethiopian opals. They're not hydrophane. They're really consistent to keep their color. You don't see that yellowing that'll happen with Ethiopian opals. Not that it's a problem, because that's probably one of the easiest fixes in the world. It's just a little silica packet, put it in a bag, and you're good to go. But Australian opal was what the artist used for the intarsia, and it was something that he sacrificed a lot of really good gem material to make the intarsias, because he was cutting such thin slices that he would be able to make cabochons out of that. So, yeah, everything that you're seeing that's coming up on this screen now are all sold pieces.
Stunning. And they're one of one.
One of one.
They're completely unique.
They're extremely unique, and luckily they did number and mark all of them. So it's a lot easier to know which one you have the artist, because this art of people in time, so there are people who are doing the same thing that he did, but this lets you know that this is him. This is a unique piece. One thing that we haven't gone over yet is shopping. So if you see something that you want, there should be links.
We've got some moderation to drop the links for the product that we're showing at the moment. And
these are all one of a kind. If you break it, we can't replace it. We can't fix it. There's nothing that can be done. This is just, it is what it is. So as we look at this one, I think it's beautiful, and it's almost like a piece of artwork. They already framed it for you. But kind of what. This is the top artist and piece being displayed. Difficult because how would you display this? A little lucite stands, you can get them at any hobby shop. Just a way that you can stand it up. But with these being as fragile as they are, I would have a pad or something in case it does tip over, in case it does fall, because I had one at home that slipped out of my hand and it just broke. Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to figure out how to fashion it up myself to get that done.
What I like about this is that the artist obviously saw a slice of the centerpiece and was like, well, that's a piece of art. You know what every good piece of art needs? A frame.
Yeah.
And so they went to work and created a frame with multiple different layers. There's black, white, beige and red on the outside to complement the colors of the inner piece.
And this one too is even more sturdy because it's got the granite backing on it. A lot of them have some sort of gem material, and this one has granite with it. A little bit more stability and sturdiness to it. Now you can see some of them, all of them will have a serial number on them. All of them will have the artist signature, and then this little JK type. We're going to call it a hallmark. Now you'll have some where it'll be a lot more freehand, where it doesn't seem like it was machine tooled. It might just have a simple JK on it where it was etched in there. All of these do come from the same artist. We have plenty of paperwork going back to prove it. And this guy is 100% out of the game. If you want to get a piece of Intarsia made by him again,
good luck.
Yeah,
this
we've reached out to him, and no interest at all in discussing beautiful artwork that he made years and years ago. But, you know,
that's our job now.
I'm never saying never. I'll show up at this guy's shop if I have to. You know, I'm kind of going to go back and forth between Intarsia and the pieces that make it, if we can do so. I don't have any jaspers or agates or picture jasper that we can show. But what we do have are fire agate. We do have lapis. We do have malachite, azure malachite in SKUs. So the great thing about fire agate, outside of its iridescence, is its toughness and how durable it is and how hard it is. George and I had a discussion that if opal had the same hardness as fire agate, it'd be the most expensive gemstone in the world.
I can't even imagine.
One of the things that would affect price on opal is that it is a softer stone and it can scratch easy and it can break easily. Fire agate's not going to do that. Now we lucked out, same place that we got the Intarsia from, we got all this fire agate from. And we're getting this at pieces, or at prices, prices, that are so far below market value. George saw these and he's like, these are the same prices I was getting this stuff for in the 70s and in Tucson when it was really first hitting the market. And it's really nice Mexican fire agate. But you have all the eyes in there that are just like in the Intarsia. You have multiple colors in there. And it's something that if you go to jtv.com, you'll see other fire agate SKUs. We have multiple fire agate SKUs in there, a lot of sets.
Well, this is an entire parcel, right? So
yeah,
if you were to get this parcel, you would get every single one of these cabochons that's rotating on this little turntable here.
And we're so proud because I don't even know if I want to say how long I've been here. I've been here over 20 years, and one of the best things about this is if you have a collector in your life, if you have someone that likes rocks, this is a great gift to give someone because you can sit around and look through all of them and really appreciate each pattern that one has and all the different eyes and textures that come off of it, because I think gemstones really are a visual texture.
For sure, especially with something with the spectral colors like fire agate. I always see these loose gemstone parcels like these, and I think of some friends of mine back in college that used to like wire wrapping rough gemstones or faceted cabochon gemstones as well. So this would be a great gift for someone like that.
Yeah, any kind of wire wrapper, I always say it when Amanda's around, this is perfect for a nice heady wrap, like nice for the parking lot, whatever you got to do. 2 shows, we're going on a long run, a 6-city run. Yeah. You just do your wire wrapping in the car and you have stuff to get to the next town. You don't have to sell ice cold ice cubes in the parking lot. I've seen it all out there. $2 grilled cheeses. Get these fire agates out there. You'll make far more money with a fire agate than you will with grilled cheese sandwiches. That's a promise. So I see Sandra saying hi, Patsy saying hi.
Hello.
We're on different platforms here, so he's going to say hi to people on one platform. I'll see him on others, but please just reach out and say hi. And click that jump link. You might see something on jtv.com that you want that we're not showing you. And you can always drop in the chat and tell us what you want to see, and we'll try and get it on the next show.
Absolutely. Let me check our YouTube chat here. I just want a pair of gigantic loose stones I can place into 14-karat rose gold settings. do we have? I don't know if we have anything like that today, but we might on another Monday.
We probably don't today, but if you knew the basket size of those settings, I'm sure that I can find you something. There's no doubt. So what's this next one as it spins around? We see that eye moving.
Oh, check that out.
Yeah. So
It's
this,
dead center.
one of the great things about these Intarjas are the sharp lines and straight lines. So if you wanted to get this set with a nice little 14 karat gold, band around it, it'd be really thin. I know gold is really expensive right now, but you don't have to use a lot. And the measurements are all there. As this one spins, it's a 33.5 by 26 millimeter shield. So you have Australian opal, malachite, pristine, black jade, fire agate, and lapis. And the great thing about the lapis is that is undyed. We've already looked, and I love this piece so much because that fire agate eye almost looks like a hologram,
Yeah, it's
floating
like
in there. Yeah, we're not going to throw this in a pit.
No.
No.
You mentioned the straight edges of the piece. I love how those straight edges juxtapose with the natural concentric
Yep.
patterning of the fire agate in the middle.
Yeah, it really is. Everything about this complements itself. And the forethought that went into this to say, this is how I'm going to do it. We had talked earlier about the Alfie Norville Gem and Mineral Museum, and they have some boxes there. They're pretty big boxes. And I was lucky enough to be doing a tour with the person who, they designed a couple of pieces to go inside of that box, not the box itself. So they know the artist. And I was like, how long does it take to do this box? And she said it was over a year. Because he would take the piece, stick it to like a tack, and then look at it and be like, nope, don't like that, change it. And then, go back and forth. So there's so much that goes into this, so much forethought. Mm-hmm. And it's a piece of art for your home.
Well, and what I like about these is that it doesn't, there's no waste of like the really small pieces. When you take a large piece of rough and you facet it or you put it in cabochon, you end up with a lot of wasted material.
Yeah.
There's none of that here. You use very small. You use every part of the elephant, or every part of the buffalo for this piece.
And that's the thing with all of this is as he cuts it, I'm sure he's setting it aside, saying, "I can use this later. I can use this later." So, but the biggest thing is the material's not coming back around again, and he is definitely not making any more again. Those days are done. But luckily, you have JTV, you have Tom, Joyce, and Robert. Like, we're going out and finding this stuff for you and bringing it back to market because that's what's so important. So we have quite a bit of stuff, and I don't know that we'll hit all. Shane, let's bounce down to the last thing, 113. Yeah, and yeah, that is the good thing that Shane just reminded. If you're watching on JTV Extra, jtv.com/extra, you can just click the shop button, and you can see everything that we have in the show anyway. You don't have to wait around for us to show it because once we start talking about these things, we kind of lose sight of stuff. So one thing, and I'll make sure to show it next, the Azure Malachite Intarsia next, but that's what you see in front of us. This is a really nice Azure Malachite. The good thing about this piece, it's not a bad thing. I always say there's no bad treatments, there's no bad anything as long as it's disclosed to you. This isn't a composite piece. They didn't take azurite and malachite and put them in a tub there and glue it and make a cabochon. This is one piece of azure malachite. It's blended, exactly what you want. And when I always talk about textures, especially with gems. I really like that if you were to focus in on this bit right here, you probably have a little bit of chatoyant fibrous malachite in it.
Yeah.
I've noticed that on a lot of the Intarsia pieces that you'll get that. And this is the only bit right here where it looks like it has any kind of matrix on it. That's a problem because I always think that matrix, it lets you know.
It adds character.
Yeah, it really does. Every bit. Oh, okay, interesting. So this piece that we're showing right now that's coming in the background, that's from the museum that we talk about. If you're ever in Tucson, Arizona, go to this museum. It's in the Pima County Courthouse. If you're a gem and mineral person, which I wouldn't think you'd be watching this if you weren't a gem and mineral person.
Probably are.
Yeah, you have to go. It probably is the nicest. And I've never been to the Smithsonian, so I'm not going to say I don't want to badmouth the Smithsonian. But they have a collection at the Pima County Courthouse that is second to none. In fact, the Lion of Merlani, which is now at the Smithsonian, debuted at Alfie Norville.
Awesome.
So they had it first.
I see in chat, Zansi was talking about the Intarsia earlier that said it would make an incredible pendant or even a brooch. How about this? I think that would make an incredible pendant.
It really would. And I actually, sitting on my desk, I have a 14 karat gold Intarsia piece that is in a pendant. I've just never had the time or wherewithal to get a SKU created for it. But that is something that, if you go to JTV_Tom Joyce on Instagram, I'll post a picture of that piece so everybody can see what it looks like. Hi, Lynn, how are you?
Hey, I just saw you pop in the chat in the JTV Extra Live.
Oh, do you have that pendant? Here's the pendant that's sitting on my desk. Shane is always on top of stuff. You have the malachite, opal, pristine, which pristine is like a white chalcedony. It took me a long time when I kept seeing pristine on these jars for their descriptions. I'm like, what is pristine? What does it mean? It sounds like a dancer. But when I looked it up finally, you know, it just, when you look up pristine gemstone, all you get is really nice high quality gems. And you're like, this isn't helping me at all.
This is what I'm looking for.
So when I did pristine Intarsia, it then said that it's mainly for Intarsia and inlay work.
Gotcha.
So Shane, we're back to normal on that 1-7. But we're going to show, since we just showed the malachite, you can see in the middle, this is sugilite, malachite, pristine, and azure malachite there in the center. And it's surrounded by opal, Australian opal. And that's what's really just all of the patterns, how it just keeps turning and keeps angling. But the edges are, and you know, when you first see it, you're like, whoa, this is artwork. It really is. It's got provenance behind it. It's signed by the artist, just like you would want in any
other piece of art.
Any other piece of art that you're purchasing. The artist has a lot of talent behind it. People know the name right when they read it. Whenever I talk about it with anybody, Intarsia, and I mention, eyes kind of bug out a little bit. Anymore, it's some of the highest quality material that you'll see. There are people who are still making Intarsia. It's still out on the market, still being produced. It's just not being produced.
I have an ad in chat now.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
You got an ally.
I'm talking about. I don't know who it is, but I like them. They know quality when they port.
Come on.
So one thing that you'll also see that's a constant in all of these, you know, opal's a constant. The malachite is definitely a constant. But the one thing that is also a constant in here is lapis. And high quality, undyed lapis is getting harder and harder to find anymore. And you know, when I say it's undyed, we do all of our due diligence here. We have a really high quality lab. We're able to test everything. We can tell all kinds of things about stuff when it comes in. And I know it's really important to be able to say this is undyed, and this is an undyed piece of lapis. You can even see as it spins around, you have the little gold specks that are going around it. So natural pyrite that's in it, it lets you know that you have lapis and not sodalite.
I see some white flecks as well.
Yep, really good stuff. And you know, lapis is something, I always say that there was a reason someone picked something up thousands of years ago. Like, this stuff kind of sells itself, you know. So lapis for years and years and years was a highly revered stone. They used to make eyeshadow out of lapis. It had so many uses before this, and I'm thankful that someone was like, hey buddy, let's stop crushing this up.
Yeah.
And you know, using it as a powder.
Let's keep it whole.
Yeah, let's keep it whole and see what we can do. If you've ever been to Jewelry Television and walked around and seen our specimens,
oh, we've got some lapis.
we have huge lapis pieces, and we're lucky that we get to see those every day.
One of my favorite lapis history facts is that during the Renaissance, they used to make a pigment called ultramarine by crushing up lapis and mixing it with oil. That stuff was worth more than gold by weight.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So there were some painters that bankrupted their families just to get their hands on some ultramarine. It's a stone with serious history.
Yeah, very serious history, because I think that there's even a really famous painting that that pigment was used in. Was
There
it
are several.
Girl
yeah.
Earring or
It
something?
was.
I can't remember what
I
it's
think
called.
ultramarine was in Girl with the Pearl Earring, and then ultramarine was usually reserved for the clothing on like the Virgin Mary or Christ because it was so expensive. They
Yeah.
just didn't use it on anyone else.
See, and we're offering it to you right now in this form.
Yeah.
We're not breaking it. We're
don't
not
have to
doing
bust it
anything
up.
with it. Yeah, we're giving it to you in multiple forms. Intarsia, this way. We don't have any of that raw stuff. We just don't. But the other thing, and Robert brought it up earlier with the fire agate, parcel. All of this stuff is great for wire wrappers.
For sure.
If you're popping out the Jewel School show, getting ready for the next Jewel School stream, all of this stuff is great for wire wrapping because they're substantial size. They're not small.
Yeah,
You
this
don't
is a
have to
big
worry
guy.
about, running your fingers across each other. These are big enough that you can work with them. A wire wrapper of any caliber would be able to get something out of this.
Yeah, I could
And
see
I'll
a
even
ring. I could see a pendant for sure.
show the back of that as well, just to show that it's even color throughout. You don't see any splotches where it's darker in one spot than another, which would indicate some sort of dyeing.
This is all important stuff to know when you're shopping for gemstones.
Yes. Well, and the other thing, which I didn't show before, but it does come with the parcel that we had, authenticity guaranteed. When we're telling you something, it's a guarantee. Because we had bought some parcels online to see what was out there, what the competition was, because we don't have any competition, but there's some competition. And we just wanted to see what are other people selling when they're calling something a natural, faceted gemstone parcel. Well, it's a lot of glass and plastic. And we stand by that we're going to check what we're selling because, we've been in this business 30 years. We want to be the most trusted name for gemstones. That's, gemstones.com, everything involved. And we're going to stand by what we're selling. So you can really trust what you're getting. It's not glass, it's not plastic, it's a natural stone, unless we disclose otherwise.
We've got a whole lab with a fleet of professionals testing the things that we take in before we send it out to
Yeah,
anyone.
absolutely, because it really means a lot. We had a 2,000 carat blue topaz egg earlier in the year, and it was kind of one of those things where never going to see it again. Lucky that we saw it at all, but we made sure that it was topaz. And what's really cool is if there's any gemologist people out there, so optic figure, optic character, biaxial. In the video that they took in imaging, as that egg spun around, you saw 2 different instances where that biaxial figure popped out. So I was just like, well, I don't need anything more than that. Like, that's
Yeah.
topaz right there.
Diagnostic.
Yep. So we're going to stick with what is in these. So malachite is the biggest thing that you can see. It's been in every single one. We haven't gotten any that have lapis outside of the agates and the picture jaspers. So we have a set of 5 malachite cabochons. These are 9mm rounds. And again, not small pieces. I'll just put it on the Midwest Standard Issue hand so you can see. So that's stock issue. And, decent sized hands. You saw the pictures before. I was Lodge. I called in thick to work that day. And so with this, you're not losing it. So you can get this bezel set. This would be a really nice bezel set ring for a gent's ring. Or if you just wanted to make a double ring, a little bypass, because they do have, textures that don't match, but nothing wrong with that. It's a really unique ring. That would really come across. Now, I'm not a designer. I never claimed to be. I'm a good guesser. That's my role in the gem industry, is I guess I know what I'm looking
He's
at.
doing a pretty good job, I think.
I'm doing okay so far. People tell me I'm handsome. I don't believe it.
I'll tell you right now, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
this is what I'm talking
Be
about.
confident.
This is what I'm talking about. You look at this guy's head of hair, it's the flow and show.
Hey, come on.
I'm showing off with the shirt. He's got the flow going. I'm just looking good standing next to him. So with the malachite, I like malachite a lot. Really, really like it because of those different patterns. It's something where I hate to go into history and stuff. It's asbestos, right? Isn't that kind of?
I'm trying.
It's one of those things where I like toxic stones as well. Now,
Sure.
don't worry about malachite. It's sealed. You're good. You're not going to have problems. But I had a conversation with someone, and we were talking about cinnabar versus malachite, and he said that if it were up to him and he was going to put something in his mouth, it would be cinnabar over malachite. And I was like, well, that's an interesting
Pick your poison.
conversation. Let's not find out either one. But I like malachite just because of those alternating bands of, what was that, Shane? He said something about phosgenite. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I heard.
Lead-based material. Yep. I
Lead
like
and
all the
phosgenite?
toxic materials. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm a toxic material
They're,
myself.
they're exciting.
Yeah, I've been
they're
told
fun.
it multiple times. Yeah, toxic materials are something, just be careful to breathe it, be careful to swallow it. You can touch it, just wash your hands. I bought a radioactive piece not long ago just because I want it. I wanted it. So these alternating bands on the malachite are really just what you want. You want some sort of texture to let you know that you have something natural, because if the pattern doesn't match, if each one isn't exact, it lets you know you have a natural piece, because too much perfection in it makes me think this might not be real.
Doesn't occur a lot in
No.
nature, repeating perfect patterns and symmetries and things like that.
Yeah, because you can even see on the backs of these just the irregularity of the spacing between those lines. You know, it lets you know you have something natural. Nature's not perfect. I know that Robert and I aren't great examples because we're kind of going up against that right now. I mean, Preston gets it. He's looking right at me. Yeah, double thumbs up. He's got 3 thumbs. I don't know where that, close to Oak Ridge, y'all. I
So
don't know.
perfect.
Yeah. So he agrees. We're the closest to perfection that this studio is going to see today. So we're just going to go with it. The malachite's no different. So we have one more big piece of malachite. I think we can get this stuff in, because
Yeah,
I
let's
really,
do it.
I really want to show one of the intarsia pieces that I have left, because we talk about it being artwork. You know,
It is,
and this one is no different because it looks like a beautiful painting. So we're going to show that one next, because
Can't wait.
I'm a big fan of it. I really like, I like all the gem material ones because they're so exciting and someone sacrificed it. Got to clean it off. Got to make it look perfect.
Hobo
but
Minerals says beautiful. I fancy the toxic ones as well. So
Yeah,
you've,
that's, man, story of my life. I fancy the toxic ones, the Tom Joyce story. So as this one spins around, and I'm going to shut off the turntable just so that can focus.
lovely.
That is a painting. That is a desert scene if I've ever seen one. All that's missing is a nice saguaro cactus somewhere in the background, maybe a man on a horse, tumbleweed, little things. But see, that's what I'm talking about, Gut Cassidy. So as you see this, these are like perfection. He visualized this as he was putting it together. And it really is a fantastic scene that, I mean, you can't ask for anything else. Hey, Shane, this is 111. I was going to use it to click on, I think that in the description I probably have what each one of them is. But I think that might be a Waihi jasper, possibly. A lot of these that have the jaspers in them, like you have Wild Horse Canyon jasper, a lot of different provenance. And that's the big thing is Jim, above anything else, was a mineralogist and a geologist. So he sought out the nicest material, brought it back, he was probably really big in the Tucson shows, I would assume, and he was constantly buying raw materials to bring back to cut to make into this. So yes, so what this is you have Biggs jasper with Wild Horse Canyon jasper, pristine, and black jade with a black granite backing. So you can probably imagine just how hefty this is. Those are a lot of big words and probably heavy hitters, because I have a friend that does a lot of polishing of jaspers and agates. I've never heard of the two, the Wild Horse Canyon and Biggs. I would assume that they're pretty big deals, and Jim didn't generally work. That's my startup page. I'm honest with it. He didn't really work with material that was just kind of subpar. It was always good material that was always around. And that granite backing, I think that really is a beautiful granite backing.
I agree.
I kind of like those. It's different, but it gives it a lot of heft.
I'd like a countertop of just that.
Yeah, we can see if
Beautiful
Jim will
color.
make you a countertop.
Well, okay.
We'll reach out to him. We'll get him back in this game somehow. I don't take no's. If someone doesn't want to talk to me, I get it. I'm going to try again. It's always going to happen. But that's kind of the great thing is, like, this person, a lot of this stuff was made 35 years ago. If he doesn't want to be in the business anymore, that's fine. But this won't be produced again. He has people that he trained, and they're still producing. You can still find this. It's almost like the the Bob Ross training sessions. You still have
Yeah,
a lot of people
yeah.
that are making paintings in that same style, and that's still being done today. I actually saw some at, help me out, Shane, Kino, at the Kino Gem Show. Someone was selling stuff, and I said, this looks a lot like gym material, and I looked at the back, and he goes, no, 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 it was someone that was trained by him, and I read the signature on the back and looked him up, so it's still out there,
Yeah.
but it's kind of an art form that just, I don't want to say that it's a dying art form, but I would say that there aren't
It's
as many
limited in
people doing
availability.
it.
That's all it is.
Absolutely, very limited. And we probably, I would say that right now we probably have one of the larger collections
I
that
believe
anyone
it.
has outside of
I
a
believe
private
that.
collection.
I've been finding a lot of agates and jaspers lately. Well, we've got a collection for you, man.
Yeah, add a couple more to it. That would be my suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this next one that we have here is a nice big piece of malachite. So what we were talking about before with all the bands and stuff, how
Yeah,
they
look
don't
at that.
always line up. I kind of like this one because it's a flat look and it looks like it's got a lot of fibrous material to it.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have all the bands that you would normally see. They just look a little bit different.
Yeah. I love, so we were talking about how the natural stuff is usually imperfect, and that's kind of what you look for.
Yeah.
I love how the banding is, despite all that, very parallel. I mean,
Yeah.
consistently, uniformly parallel. They never like intersect in that way. They always sort of share, they give each other space, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one too, like that radial curvature that's happening on these. That's what you expect to see in malachite. So as you see this spin around and the coloring that's on it, it might not be like the alternating dark to light like you saw in that set of 5 that we had earlier, but this is a piece unto itself where it's super unique in that it's almost like all of the bands are scrunched together and it gives you that kind of fibrous look. And I'm kind of rocking it back and forth because I'm trying to see if I can pick up any of that fibrous chatoyancy that will come from this material.
And what's the skew on this guy? Because I'm looking at the price. This is a really low price.
This is 19W12A.
Yeah,
And
no,
yes,
that
that is
is a
correct. This is a
low
very
price.
affordable price. And we
it's
have a couple of
big.
these.
It's a big piece.
Yeah, this
Definitely a
is one
centerpiece
too
for sure.
that, yeah, that would be a really good, I'm going to use the term again, that would be a good heady wrap.
Mm-hmm. I see it in a pendant flanked by like other complementing colors for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like if you get something like this, if you are a wire wrapper, if you do anything, if you're a creator, please take pictures of it.
Oh, absolutely.
JTV_Tom Joyce on Instagram. You can email it to us. It's, I think it's JTV Extra. Is it JTV Extra at jtv.com? Yeah, so send us pictures. We want to see what you're doing with this because we appreciate it so much. That's why we brought it back. We want to see how someone else appreciates it and works with it.
100%.
We get a look at it in this form. It's very rare that we get to see what someone does, how
Yeah.
you display your gems, how you display something that you get from us, what you did with it. We want to know, for sure.
Got a gemstones.com Instagram as well. We would love to see you guys tagging us in whatever your creations are.
Yeah, because, I mean, we get a look at this stuff all the time. We want to see the next form of it.
Yeah, show me
because
something new.
we normally don't get that. So to keep in line of the material that was used is the material that we're going to show. The next one that we're coming up on is another Australian opal cab.
I love this guy.
I like this one a lot too because this one is the one that I said had that really unique, almost pinfire flash to it, which it might be hard to see at these angles. But I
Kinda
know,
competing with the reflection a little bit. But
yeah, I know.
Yeah, you can see it.
If someone can get it, it's going to be Shane. So this is an 8x6 oval, and this is the perfect size for an opal like this. If you were to get a lot bigger on this to keep that pinfire flash, you're really going to be getting into a price range that is kind of for few. And on the Midwestern stock, it's still, my hand does not swallow up that stone. It's still a good size, and it's going to be represented. I know a lot of times that we relate this to a lady's hand or something like that, but men wear jewelry too. And if there's men out there that want to make themselves a ring or something like that, I always try to show it on my hand because I want you to know that, You know, I like jewelry as well. It's not going to get lost on your hand. The only thing that I would say is if you're going to make a ring out of this, it needs to be a special occasion type ring, not an everyday ring. If you work outside, if you swing your hands around a lot, this isn't the ring for you to wear every day.
Right.
Because it's going to knock, it's going to break. Yeah, if you're looking for an everyday wear, get a high dome cabochon that's either a jasper or a sapphire, something more durable that's going to take a little bit of a knock without a problem. So on these opals, you might have some potch on these. So that's just kind of normal. And potch is just like a little bit of sandstone on the back. They just keep that on there for coloring. So don't be surprised if you see a little bit. It's not damaged. It's just normal. You know, normal things that they leave on.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think we're actually going to get it. There's one more piece of Intarsia to show, and that'll be the last piece that we have. And we're going to wrap up and be able to get out of here before the next show starts.
This was the size, shape, and origin of my first purchase from JTV in 2005. Barbara, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you so much.
Hobo Minerals, I would agree that is a very reasonable price for that cabochon.
Which one's that?
The
malachite?
the opal one.
Oh,
Well, the malachite, but also the opal one. I see 25 bucks.
yeah. Well, I
I
was
see
going to say
potential.
that's what we're working on here is we're going to try and bring really good prices, and that's something that you can trust. It was like last week when we showed the Moldavite. I'm seeing $80 a gram retail Moldavite out in the world. Robert's already turned his head. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
So to be able to show stuff that is far below what you see out on the retail market, we're very happy to do that and proud to do that. So this one, I like this piece a lot. It's got almost that evil eye look to it in the shape. So
Oh, sure, yeah.
this is another one too that has two different instances of that ultra rare sugilite in it. Now they are thin little layers, but at the same time, if the artist knew now what he could get for that sugilite when he made it, he probably wouldn't have used it. Because he'd be able to get far more out of that sugilite if he sold it on its own, if he capped it up. Now, we did have a few sugilite base pieces, and those went instantly. We had a rhodochrosite one that went instantly. Some of those materials you're just not going to find again to be used for this kind of stuff. So as this spins around, the play of color in this opal is beyond fantastic.
Unbelievable. I see green, I see blue, I see red.
Yeah, and that's the big one.
Everything you're looking for.
When you see the red, that's basically dollar signs. Trying to get it so it doesn't have that reflect. It's almost like a weather radar as it goes back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, heavy rain at 2 p.m.
Yeah, but you even
There
see
it
it
goes.
around the edge, like where you have that thin little sugilite and then more opal, you're just seeing more play of color. So to think that they thin sliced this
Yeah,
when they could have probably made 5 or 6 cabochons out of this easily.
right. Oh,
Just-
it's so well utilized here in this piece, though.
Yeah, and I don't even want to say it's smaller because there are varying different sizes of these. So
That's a good size
it's not like one is big, small. There are some really big pieces. Like, what am I going to do with this? It would be almost like the Flavor Flav clock. But on this one, you have a 25 by 18.6. So really good size. And this would just make the most subtle little pendant that I always stand by. I always say that any kind of opal, fire agate, something like that, pendant or earrings. Rings
I
are
think that's a
great,
great
but they
choice.
have to have movement. It has to sway. Light has to hit to catch your eye to show you this play of color. That's what nature wanted done with it, and that's what a jeweler is going to do with it.
Yeah,
And
agreed. Wholeheartedly.
the great thing about buying anything loose, and I've said this in a lot of my shows, I know that we're getting some newer viewers on different platforms that we're doing, but if you've ever done any of my shows before, I always say that buying a finished piece of jewelry is easy because someone's already done the work for you. Someone mined the stone, they cut the stone, a designer came up with a design for it, a jeweler set it, and now it shows up to you. So all the work's been done. It's easy. It's just right out of the box. It's
Yeah.
ready to go.
That's what you're paying for.
Buying a loose stone means the ball's in your court. You can do whatever you want for it, whatever you want with it, for it, all of it.
Yeah.
I'm stumbling over my words, but that's not important. you fell in love with the piece. That's the most important part. You see it, it caught your eye, there's something about it that speaks to you. Now you can go to a jeweler and say, this is what I want done with it, make this happen.
Yeah.
Because a good jeweler can do virtually anything. They can make almost anything
Or
work.
let them run with it. Say, hey, I
Exactly.
found this piece, and I don't care what you do to it. I know it's going to be great. Have fun. Be artistically free, you know.
Yeah, because sometimes you just have to trust the experts.
I do that at like restaurants sometimes. They're like, how do you want this? I'm like, how do you want to do it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And it usually comes back great. They put a lot of heart and soul into it when you let them kind of go free with it.
That's what I always say usually when I get a haircut if I haven't had one in a while.
Just go
And they're like,
crazy.
what do you want to do? And I said, whatever you think is best. What's that, Shane? Yep, I was actually getting ready to do that
45 already?
right now. So that's what you can kind of get out of these shows. It's going to be every Monday at noon. You're going to see Robert and I up here. We're going to find stuff. You can find Robert. You guys know where to find Robert on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm at JTV_Tom Joyce on Instagram. If there's stuff that you want to see, please reach out. Like I've been talking about meteorites on there. I'd love to
Yeah.
get some more. Whatever it is that you're wanting to see, if there are items that you just want to learn more about, that you want to see, we probably have it in our inventory, or we can get some and we'll just have fun up
Yeah,
here. That's the
just
most
talk
important
to us.
part.
Talk to us, communicate. We'll show you what you want to see.
But every Monday at noon, you're going to find us here. Thanks so much for tuning in.